Hi, I'm Creason,
And I'm Cynthia.
and this is Random Spirit, where we talk about random topics. What are we talking about today, Cynthia?
Today, we'll be talking about love languages. There are
Ooh.
five languages of the love language. And we will also be discussing why they are important, especially to the spiritual journey that Creason and I are. And also we'll be discussing what our love language is and how we show the love language. And yeah, we might throw in like I don't want to throw in some situations, but whatever. Okay. So
yeah, what are they is probably the first question.
yes. So what are the love languages? What are they? We have words of affirmations. Okay. We have quality time, giving and receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Those are the 5 beautiful love languages. And yeah, we're gonna jump right in. And then also, obviously, at the end of this episode, we will be doing the card pull.
As usual, yes.
Yes.
The calls.
Yes. Okay. So, words of affirmation, right? So, with the words of affirmation, now I'm just going by this. Creason will back me up because I'm not prepared. Words of affirmation. Words of affirmation is basically when I genuinely feel like it's like you need that reassurance. You need it, like, to hear that you're loved, right? You need to hear from somebody, or maybe like, I don't know, you like to tell yourself like, oh, like, I love you. You are beautiful. You are worthy, right? Creason, you can add to that.
So, yeah, words of affirmation is literally that. It's little bits of words. It's like words that make the other person feel good. And there's a lot of different, in the book that I read about this was from like Gary Chapman. He's the one who coined this term, actually.
What's
with the 5
the name?
love languages. Gary Chapman is the name.
No, the name of the book.
Oh, the name of the book, yes. It's actually called The 5 Love Languages, which makes it very, very easy to remember.
Yes, we love a simple title.
Yeah, he's the one who coined the term. He's from North Carolina, and he was born in 1938, which makes him fairly old now, I think.
Yeah.
By the time of this recording.
However, love a wise man writing a book.
Yeah, so words of affirmation basically is encouraging words to the person that your spouse is usually how he likes to put it, but it's encouraging words to another, kind words like, you're doing great, or like, like if they are doing something that is awesome, like you give them encouraging, like, words like you can do it, like you're awesome, like you're doing a great job, and make sure you're targeting things that, are more towards what they're doing rather than, their looks or whatever. Looks of affirmation is great, like somewhat, but it's more towards the actions that people display that words of affirmation is more targeted towards. Other stuff is like, requesting things that you think that they'll be able to help you with, that can actually garner encouragement, and actually journaling, and telling people to journal, writing words for yourself usually has like a self-rewarding effect of words of affirmation. If you write down like, how we want to write down those like affirming things that we want to do for our spiritual journey, those also help with words of affirmation.
Ooh, manifesting.
Yeah, the manifesting is really good on people who have that as one of their love languages. So yeah, that's what I have to add for love languages in terms of words of affirmation. Pretty much words that encourage or inspire or tell the person that you appreciate them is the best way to describe it. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for that. Yes. Wow. Okay. Okay, yeah. So quality time is the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And quality time is like, you know, it's quality time. It's spending, I feel like it's like spending time with loved ones. I feel like quality time has a lot to do with literally just the presence of somebody, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Going out for a walk and stuff. You can add more to this since you read the book.
Yeah, so quality time is that. There's quite a bunch to quality time, which I found was pretty interesting. Of course, the biggest thing for quality time is one-on-one attention. Quality time is not two people like sitting down in a movie theater watching a movie, or two people sitting on the couch like watching TV. It's not
Yeah.
even one person on their cell phone and the other person like, is on the bed. Like, that's not quality time. Quality time is getting rid of all distractions and having the one-on-one time with the other person. So you're basically making sure that, like, all your focus is on,
That
the
person.
person instead
Yeah.
of you just, doing what you are and like, oh yeah, I'm there. That's not quality time at all. Like, that's not what counts. Some of the dialects or aspects of quality time that was gone over in the book is focusing all your attention, which I went over. Like, basically a dinner date would be a much more effective than a theater. You would want to cast all your attention, throw the cell phone pretty much inside your pocket, and like just set all your attention to listening and engaging with your person across the table. Quality conversations, another small piece of this. It's basically engaging in conversation that inspires both of you, or one of you, and the other one kind of encourages that conversation. So quality time in terms of conversations is making sure that you're engaging with the conversation, asking questions, and or egging on and helping out and improving said conversations. Another one is like, doing quality activities with another person, hiking, I would say, or like, taking them to their favorite place.
Going
Those
on a
all,
date. Yeah.
yeah, those are all like part of it. One of the biggest things that they said that's a problem for quality time is that he made a thing talking about like the Dead Sea and the Babbling Brook, but I'm not going to go really deep into that. Basically, the Dead Sea is like someone who listens, and the Babbling Brook is someone who loves to talk. And usually couples are filled with someone who likes to talk and someone who likes to listen. Those are the two people that usually attract to each other most of the time. And the challenge is for the reverse to happen, for the person who doesn't like to talk to begin talking, and for the person who loves to talk to start to listen. And if you can get that to happen, that's like a key to helping, like, at least the communication part of relationships last.
Yeah.
So yeah, quality time is literally about, learning to talk to people and learning to like give people your full attention. Not to go ahead and like ignore them. And people who speak the love language of quality time gain the most from one-on-one time with their partner.
Yeah, it's literally that undivided attention.
Mm-hmm.
Like, put the attention on me. Okay. All right. So the third love language is giving and receiving gifts. And so with giving and receiving gifts,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, like, it's like you buy whoever, like, your significant other flowers, or you can buy yourself flowers, like gifts. Like, you can make a little something for someone, and it's kind of like, I'm gifting you this, and this is how I show my love and appreciation. There's not much I gotta say about this one.
Yeah, it's actually one of the simplest ones. Yes, like, it's pretty much everything that you've said. So yeah, it's giving gifts, mostly receiving them, I think, especially thoughtful ones, like,
yes.
Ones that like either divot a memory, or like, you know, something that was very important to you, so the path that you got, you know, that you cherish, or something that like cements a memory of when you got it. So that's part of it. The other part is the gift of self, or physical, like, you know, being there for somebody in their time of need, or being there for somebody in general can also generate, like, you know, the gift of your time, pretty much is what it comes down to. I mean, it kind of blends in with the next one that we're going to discuss, but there's a small distinction between, like, you know, being there as like your physical presence is very important. So yeah, receiving and giving gifts is probably one of the simplest ones to explain. There's no like deep thing there. The people who like have this as a love language really like put gifts as a pedestal. You would see them like basically, you know, have gifts hidden away or put on display inside their cases, you know, to remember the times that, like, you know, those gifts represent. So yeah, pretty much what I have to say about receiving and giving gifts. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the next one is acts of service, and I feel like this one's like mine. Hey. Acts of service. I'm not gonna like go too onto it because I feel like you can give a deeper meaning, but acts of service, it's like literally, you know, when I was looking, because whenever me and Creason like do like the podcast, we like to do like some research before we go on and like speak on the topic, so that we have like some knowledge, we don't come into it blindly or whatever. There's a video that I had seen, and boy, like, it just like, acts of service is like it's kind of like, you know, me showing the other person, like, you know, I love you, let me take this burden off of you, and I want nothing from it. You know, this is strong, like 100% me, and you know this, Creason, like, yeah, like literally, I feel, at least for me, I'm sure, like, you know, there's other people that can say something else about the acts of service, but I genuinely feel like it's just, you know, my way or whatever of saying, like, I'm willing to drop everything for you. And this is like the best way that I can show you that I love you. You can go on and pick up.
Oh yeah. So one of the biggest things about acts of service, I feel, is its willingness, or like, so in other words, the person that's doing the acts of service has to be willing to do it. Now, the big thing that I loved how they described this at the book is, you know, are you a doormat or are you like a loving person? And I love that comparison because, you know, doormats are pretty much people that you don't care about. They're the ones that, like, you know, basically you don't care about a doormat, like it's just meant to be pushed around. Yeah. And the way that it's described is that if someone's demanding that that you need to do something, or that you have to do something for them, when you do that action, it's not an act of service. It's a command. It's something that, like, someone bestowed upon you, like a parent-child or like a teacher to a student. It's not something that you've done as an act of service. It's a command that's been bestowed. However, if the action is requested of you, like if someone was to ask you, like, oh, can you do this for me? And you choose to go ahead and do this, or you do it of your own volition, which means that you just do it by yourself, you know, and
without nobody motherfucking asking.
Yeah, those are where acts of service actually hit the most. You know, that's when, like, people actually go ahead and register those as, oh wow, you know, that was an act of service. That was, you know, someone actually going out of their way for me. So yeah, act of service people, like, you know, definitely love the not being demanded and to basically, you know, be requested. And literally that's where acts of service comes in the most. If, you know, an act of service person is getting requested to do something and they're allowed to go ahead and actually pull that off and do it because they want to, that's the key. You know, it's a want to, not a need to. So yeah, I think acts of service is one of the special ones, but it definitely is important for those people who have that love language.
Yeah, I wanted to add to it, like, as you're speaking, like, I got something that came to me. I feel like act of service, because, you know, like, the way that, you know, for me, I feel like, you know, the people that do that observe, because a lot of the times, at least like for me, like when I do something and I see that you're struggling and I see like, damn, like this person needs something, right? That's all I wanted to throw. Act of service, people, like, observe. I'm a big observer. If I can see that you're struggling, like, I'm willing to help out. So
great.
Alrighty. So the last one, right, is my least favorite. Physical like physical touch. All right. See, look, I still don't understand this one, and I watched a couple YouTube videos, and maybe again I probably have a block. I'm just gonna let you. It's probably like physical touch. I feel like it has to do with like actual, like, say, like, well, yeah, it's what I don't fucking like. When you're like, say, when you are like crying and someone comforts you and they hug you, right? Right?
Yes, that's part of it. Yeah.
When you give hugs randomly. Take it from here.
So yeah, physical touch has a couple of braces. One of them being what you just touched on. That's touched on, huh? That's touching during like a crisis. Yeah. So like that's like when someone's going through like a very, very, very hard time. You know, basically you give them a hug or you touch them. For people who do not have physical touch as their love language, though, that can come off, especially like, you know, as bad. You know, basically, like, the physical touch love language is touching as you want to be touched, you know, and making sure that you're touching appropriately, which is very important for physical touch as a love language. It's not like, oh, you know, if you put your hand on my shoulder the entire time, like, you know, the person's gonna like feel like, oh wow, I'm the most important person. That's not it. It's appropriate, you know, when appropriate, and you want to be there for them when, you know, they want to. Now, I feel it's difficult to interpret because, like, according to like what I've read, physical touch, if you get it wrong, you'll get a shutdown that you've never seen. Because, like, you know, people with this love language, you know, like, after a while, shut down and expect, like, you know, physical touch to take place, and when it doesn't, they take it as like, oh, the person doesn't love me. So basically, like, a relationship can go on for like forever, and, you know, if physical touch is not there, the other person on the other side can feel like, oh man, like, you know, this person really doesn't care, like they haven't touched me in such a long time.
Yeah,
it's a very, very, like, you know, I would say you have to be a like looking into it, you know, type of one, because it's not practically obvious, because there's so many different dialects, which I'll go over right now.
Yeah.
So touches, or like the physical touch, you know, if people have been abused, it's a lot harder, you know, to deal with.
Yeah.
Especially since, like, you know, if someone's been abused, it's much harder for them to, like, you know, not be abrasive to touching. And if that's their love language, it's even more devastating.
It's probably triggering. Like, I'm not, like, I would assume that it's triggering, right?
Yeah, it's pretty triggering. And then like another thing that can mess with the physical touch relationships is infidelity, because, like, if there's any sort of infidelity in the relationship, you know, basically the person feels it as a betrayal that, like, you're with somebody else instead of them. I mean, that's devastating anyway, but for physical touch, it's a lot worse, you know? So, yeah, like, I think those are the main points for physical touch. It's basically, like, just making sure that, you know, you're touching appropriately, and that you make sure that you're abreast of it when you're inside love language.
All right, so that wraps up the definitions and, like, examples of the 5 love languages. So now I would just like to share, I guess like my strong love languages, and then Chris and will discuss what love languages we are not, or whatever. So first with me, my biggest love language of all is acts of service. So I've actually learned that I'm huge. I am huge on active service. And also I've learned that with time and the older I get, and now that I have my kids, it's actually like it branches out and it's really different. Like in general, I feel like it's acts of service. And the funny thing is that my least one is physical touch, as you know, Creason.
Yeah.
My least one is physical touch. And I feel like, shout out to Creason and my husband, and actually my family, because I don't like when I'm crying, leave me alone. And it's actually pretty interesting because of the fact that I don't like to be touched, and like I don't like to be comforted. I don't know, like I didn't have that as a kid. So it's so funny that with my kids, I am very strong on that. I am like I'm always hugging the girls, I'm always kissing on the girls. Like I actually give them a little bit of everything. I separate my kids and my nephews love languages. Look at that. I just realized that, Creason. Because I'm a big active service person, and I'm a huge quality time. So I feel like it's acts of service, quality time. I'm very aggressive with quality time. You know this, Creason. Trey knows this too. And my very least is the physical touch. The two that I cannot stand is the physical touch and words of affirmation. It's probably because it goes deeper. It's probably my Chiron and freaking astrology, but it's funny because with my kids, I do all of them. We learn something new every day. What are yours, Creason?
Yeah. So mine is, I would say the two ones that I think about the most is receiving gifts, and I would say physical touch, because I actually value closeness and being near people a lot, and I put a lot of thought behind my gifts.
You do.
And I really like it when people put a lot of thought back. I would say that receiving and giving gifts is probably my strongest, but I rarely get a chance to actually see it, because people always tell me I'm hard to gift for. You're not the only one that says that. A lot of people tell me that I'm very hard to gift for. So it's very difficult, but when people do spend the time to actually throw a thoughtful gift my way, I really do end up appreciating it. I dabble in acts of service quite a bit.
Yeah.
I especially on the pushing end. I try to push all the love languages, I would say.
You actually do.
But the ones that I focus on the most, especially between our friendship, is quality time. I do that a lot when it comes to our friendship and stuff. Words of affirmation, not so much.
Well, actually, you used to, and I started cussing you out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see? Oh my God, I'm such a
that love language does not work.
I'm done with myself.
Acts of service works very well. And
yes.
We had a long distance thing going on for a while, so physical touch was not part of it. But yeah, we made it do with the love language that we had, So yeah, I don't know whether we should go on to how they're important or like how do we show.
I feel like I'm gonna share why it was, even brought up, and why it was important to our spiritual journey, because it actually hit me a lot. And then you can share yours, and then we'll do the card pulls. Yeah. Okay, so I've actually been like meaning to look into like the love languages and stuff, and I've realized now I'm like huge on shadow work. I am attracted to the inner child. I am attracted to my own fucking inner child, and I've noticed with the spiritual journey that like how important it is for love language in many ways. So as I've learned that as a kid, I guess the way that your parents love like reflects how you are going to love, and like your love language or whatever, at least like the majority of people. And it's interesting because my love language has changed, and I feel like I'm changing as a person, and I'm like, I don't know how to feel about it. So I was a huge gifter. Before I had moved, because in 2013 I moved to Virginia. So like before that, when my husband and I were dating, he was my boyfriend at the time, I was a huge gift giver and quality time. I was probably like all of them, kind of physical touch. And so like when I moved, things happened, whatever, and I caught myself, when I went on to this spiritual journey, I caught myself and I was like, why is it difficult for people to understand like my, like the way that I show my love, right? That was my biggest thing. Creason, you were there for it all. Like, yeah. Shout out to you for being like, you and Trey are like my number one supporters, and I really appreciate you guys. And if I wasn't so drained, I'd probably be crying right now. So I love both of you guys. So it was just like a big thing, it's just like unworthiness, abandonment, like why? And like I've seen that, like, and I've noticed, I'm probably not making any sense, but whatever. I've noticed that like my love language has changed so much, and it's because of the fact of like I don't even fucking know. Why did my love language change? I feel like people use me, and I've noticed that like people have used me, and it's like I'm giving. So I've also learned that with the love languages, again, I feel like it's so important that it like every relationship, I don't give a fuck like who you are or what relationship it is. Every relationship, it's a two-way street, all right? If I'm giving to you, you need to be doing something with me. And 90% of my relationships was like, what, Creason? It was like a
one-way street.
Well, it literally was like a 80-20. I was giving 80, made like shit. I was probably giving 90, and then like, the person on the other end literally was giving me nothing, and I was like, why am I drained? Like, why? So then, I'm gonna admit I was pretty like, what would you call it? Like arrogant, like, oh, like, I've loved you and you don't give a shit and this and that, and I'm doing all this for you. And it's like, I noticed that I wasn't understanding their love language, and I've noticed kind of like, I think you had said that the two people in whatever relationship need to understand, right?
Mhm.
And I feel something that you told me that like people with like different love language sometimes they're gonna clash,
Mhm.
especially when you don't understand each other, and especially when you don't understand how you're gonna love. So the whole point I'm getting is that again, I'm gonna say 90%, like 100% of my relationships, all my relationships were like that.
Mhm.
It was that I was giving and I wasn't receiving, and I was trying to figure out, and I was, arrogant and on this, like, I was on a fucking pedestal, whatever, like, ooh. But to this day, I still don't figure it out. I still can't figure out the person's love language or whatever. I still feel like people are out to get me.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've learned that you got to set boundaries and you can love from a distance, and that's my spiel.
Yeah.
It helped me so much.
All right. So, yeah, I guess that like I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap up like on
Yes.
my end. So I'll go through both, like why they're important and how I showed it in one go. So why I believe that love languages are important is because on the self-love journey, it's important to find out like, how people are gonna best love you. But I also feel as though like it's important to know that just because you feel that you can be loved one way doesn't mean another person can feel it. And I think that that's like one of the most important lessons that the love languages show, that like, you can be giving all you've got to a relationship or a friendship or whatever,
Yep.
and not be getting anything in return for it because the other person does not understand
Yes.
what you're showing to them as anything, as not even a loving gesture. It like doesn't mean anything to them. And I feel that's what makes love languages so interesting. It's to me like, wow, you can be giving all this stuff and not getting anything back and getting frustrated and not understanding why, and yeah, like this gives a good blueprint, to figure out like how best to serve the other person, even if you have to learn something new and something that's not necessarily in your comfort zone, to go ahead and do so. But it also helps yourself, because if you know how the love languages are for yourself, you can also let people know like, okay, well, this is how best to serve myself, this is how best to make me feel that I'm loved. And yeah, I think it helps in both directions. Now,
It does.
me, when I was younger, I was a really big gift giver. Ever since I was very young, like I was always creative. So I would always make cards, make little gifts, do things. I would say when I was younger, it was giving gifts and acts of service. Acts of service was actually some of the things, something that I think fell a little bit over time. I still do it, but it's not as strong as it was when I was younger. When I was younger, I was all about gifts and trying to do things for others. As I grew older, I feel that like, gifts kind of remained, but I don't focus on that anymore. I more focus on quality time, and I more focus on physical experiences that I can have with people. So yeah, words of affirmation it's probably what both of us don't have, because like if someone's like, oh yeah, you did a good job, I'm like, ha, okay, for most of it. So I would say that words of affirmation is my weakest point, because like, yes, as much as like getting them, like in terms of like internal effect, it has the least impact. If people are like, oh yeah, you did a great job, it's like
the words of affirmation.
Yeah, it's very,
I can totally relate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, when I was young, always giving gifts, always doing service. As I grow older, I still try to do service and give gifts, but I try much more to do quality time, and much more to do stuff that are physical with the other person. So it's definitely changed for me, in terms of how I show each one. Quality time, I do a lot of one-on-ones with people. I try to knock away every distraction that I possibly can and make sure that I have like a lot of one-on-one time with people. giving gifts and receiving gifts, mostly the giving gift part, I put a lot of thought into gifts. I sometimes would restore stuff in memory for like years before I actually go ahead and like, give people back the gifts that they've not necessarily asked for, but that they've mentioned like way back then. I'll hold on to that conversation, so much so that my mom said to me that like, I better be careful what I say because I know that it's going to come back to me in a gift someday. So
She's so cute.
so yeah, like for me, I really pay attention to what people say, and I try to go in and take what people say and use them as gift ideas, and I get a lot of good responses. People always say that I'm thoughtful and creative when it comes to gifts.
Yeah.
But the secret is that I just listen. Like literally listening is the key when it comes to gift giving. Like if you listen to what people say that they want, then you'll always be able to go in and nail the gift giving.
Yeah.
Acts of service, I do try to do that. People request things of me all the time, and I try my best to hit on those requests. The reason that I think that it's weakened over time is because it's not my priority. Like beforehand, I used to go out of my way to make sure I was like serving. But it took a lot of energy out of me to do that. And I've stopped myself from being like, oh, I need to like, show this person I care by like driving up to their doorstep every single day. So so it's changed from me like putting myself out there to more of a request. Like, if I'm requested to do something, I'll give it some thought and I'll try to do that as an act of service, or I'll delay the act of service for later as to not overdo it for myself, Physical touch for me, this is the part that like I feel sucks because it's fairly new. Like I don't live in my family is split down the middle in terms of physical touch and non-physical touch. Like my dad is like the non-hug, no touch type, and my mom is like, the partial hug type. Like, she'll hug if you did something good, but it's not like all the time that she would. When I was super young, physical touch was so much higher than it is now. Like, like now it's like not even there. So like, and even like with the family, we barely do any of that. Like, if we get a handshake or a high five, it's like very rare.
That's so funny.
So, like it's, and this has nothing to do with like, the pandemic or anything, but like, it's just that's how my family was. It was never like that. It was mostly words. We would give ourselves good stuff, With my sister, however, like, me and her have a very like close relationship. She's a very touch heavy person. She likes to hug. She likes to be near people. She has that kind of like, embracing type of, personality.
Yeah.
And I try to lean into that because as far as I'm concerned, like, I mean, it's something that it's very rare for me to get. I realized that was very important to me just based off of that. And that's how I knew that physical touch was important to me because like, I realized how much I gained from that. It's definitely like, I think not as impactful as gifts, but it's there. Like, that's a very important aspect for me as a person. How I show it, I rarely get the chance to. I try, especially like for people who, like my sister who like loves that type of relationship. Like I try to go ahead and like, take advantage of that when it comes to her. But for other people, like it's usually like a distance type of thing. Or if I can physically get them there, I'll use that as like a substitute. It's a decent substitute, but it's not like 100%, but I make it do, So yeah, that's literally like the importance, and that's how I show it at the very least.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I find it funny how both of us, our love languages change. Mine changed because of hurt and betrayal. But also I just want to say that it's, I'm going to put so much emphasis on this. I feel like it's really important to understand a person's love language. And I feel like not only that, I feel like communication is the biggest, like, boy, when you fucking communicate, when there's communication and there's respect, like, those two can do some things. And
What's the matter?
I'm just saying, because of the fact that you know, I'm still trying to figure out some people's love language, and I don't know why it's like in the back of my mind. And quite honestly, it's one of the like people that have hurt me. And it's like, you know, I'm a Virgo, right? Certain things that like I just get to me, and I just want everyone to love each other and understand love languages. And you know, if it doesn't align with you, then you know, like communicate that with the other person. And I honestly feel like love languages are breaking, like at least with certain people I know, some friends and family, it's breaking people and it's pulling people apart, and it's so sad. And I just wish and I hope that everyone can be understanding with each other, and at the end of the day love each other, and can get through this fucking retrograde of whatever this earth is going through right now. Peace and love. All right, we're gonna do the card pulls, and then that's gonna be the end of the episode. So Creason, the best friend of all the friends. Do I even need to tell you? Do I even need to tell the people listening what the card is?
You know, I don't know if we actually pulled this card on the.
No, I haven't, but I think I've mentioned boundaries so many times.
I think that you have, yeah.
Creason, we're not gonna talk about the. I mean, okay. So this is actually a deck that I recently got. I feel like I'm being called to another goddess, another deity. Don't know who. I'll figure it out. I've actually want to get like into learning about more deities and expanding my knowledge. So I got a legendary ladies, you know? There's 58 goddesses to empower and inspire you. And this one, if I butcher this, I am so sorry. Don't take this as offense. Durga, right? She's Hindu. I love this. Beautiful. Greatest goddess of war and protection. Yes. Durga is leaping into your life right now to help you establish boundaries. Boundaries are one of the greatest ways you can take care of yourself. Remember to clear ones to protect and preserve your inner spirit. Boy, are your guides screaming at you. And I feel like it's because you're I'm gonna let you take it from here, because I don't want to put your business.
Look, I mean, okay, so we've been doing a lot of and yeah, like most of the card that appears the most in my life is the boundaries card. And I'm gonna go ahead and just be flat. Like, the hardest part about, like, you know, creating and doing boundaries is because it completely goes against like the way that my personality types is, even though I know the importance. And I feel like that's the weirdest part about it. Like, you know, I'm the type of person that doesn't like to strike like a flippin' viper every single time somebody, like, you know, pushes my boundaries. You know, like, I usually sit back and I'm like, okay, you know, 1 offense, okay. 2 offenses, that's a little bad. 3 offenses, okay, I'm going to strike. I usually wait for repeat offenses before I strike down on the boundaries. And I don't think that it's my, you know, Leah's fair way of handling boundaries that my guys are trying to attack and being like, look, okay, stop being a damn doormat. Like, you know, I mean, we went over the cards today.
Yeah.
And actually go ahead and fight for your boundaries. You know, I was explaining the other time that, like, you know, the problem about boundary fighting is how much energy it takes, especially for stubborn people that don't like to listen. You know, like, boundaries really, really can be tough. And I can understand anyone who's
It is.
time with them because, for one, you have to be willing to engage with people and you have to be semi-confrontational in order for it to work. And
Yeah.
that can go one of two ways. One, the person listens and they go ahead and they do what they ask them to do. They leave, you're good. Or two, it creates a big firestorm of an argument with like 6 people or the person up. And they're just going ahead and like berating about like why you're wrong and they're right,
Yes.
how they freaking, you know, and how you're hurting their feelings because you're creating boundaries and how, you know, and honestly, I feel like when it comes to family, they're the hardest people to cut off when they are toxic because you can't technically cut them off. You have to feed them with a long spoon, which means distance is usually the key when it comes to family, when you have issues, when you can't cut them, you know, and
Yeah.
is the key. The hardest part, it's hard to create distance when you're close. And I understand that dynamic a lot. You know, when you create enemies with family members, it becomes a lot of hate. I remember listening to the story. I'm going to go into it a little bit. I'm not going to name names here, but I listened to the story of like this, like you know, was very, very like crazy in terms of like starting up boundaries and stuff. And
Yeah.
she really like went forward and like created a storm of where all of their family members pretty much hate each other, you know, and basically none of them can talk to each other from this day forward. And I feel like that's like the worst possible family dynamic. So I don't know if it's boundaries going too far, but I do feel that boundaries are important for self-preservation and self-love. So yeah, you know, I really do need to work on that. Like, it's not something that, like, I know it's an issue. And my guys have been telling me it's an issue for days. And I think that they're just kind of making it known to me. So yeah. What's your card? I bet you it's better than my boundaries.
Oh, shut it. So my card, again, I'm going to butcher this. I apologize. Laka. And it's a Hawaiian goddess. Look at me. Goddess. I'm tired. And this is love, all right? Goddess of love and wilderness, Laka is gifting you with powers of attraction right now. You'll find yourself especially magnetic to the things you're seeking, and if you lean into that, she'll reveal the path to romantic success. Okay? This is actually a really nice and affirming card because I've changed my perspective in life, and I've, you know, just changed my perspective in general, and I'm seeing things different, and I'm like doing a lot of inner work and a lot of healing and feeling and emotions, and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing in life. I like to explain it like this. You can't relate, Creason, but like probably women can relate because, you know, the power was out today and I was taking a shower and it was like the dark and I was shaving my legs today and I couldn't see nothing and I was just shaving, and then I was like, why does this feel exactly how I feel like what I'm doing in life? Like I don't know what I'm doing, and I hope I'm doing it right. Does that make sense? Yeah, so yeah, I just feel like it's weird. The best, like when you don't know what you're doing, I've learned, at least for me, I'm on the right path. I'm doing the right thing, living in the moment. It's weird, but yes, I am, you know, attracting love. I'm trying to be love. I'm showing my kids love, and there's just love all around me. And yeah, that is my card. And that is the end of the episode. Thank you guys for listening.
yeah, just to wrap up, if you guys are interested in the book, it's called The Five Love Languages, again by Gary Chapman. And yeah, you guys could see the cards that we pulled, as well as get information on future episodes by visiting Instagram at randomspirit28.
Yes.
So yeah, always remember to love yourself, guys. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.